Over the last 5 years, I've had the privilege of interviewing some of the world's best experts on fitness, health, and nutrition. What I've come up with are 5 simple things that you can do as a military veteran to improve your health today. Let's get after it. If this is your first time tuning into the channel, I'm Dave. After a career-ending back injury in Afghanistan, I committed to improving my health and understanding why I got injured in the first place. This show is dedicated to the war fighters and the veterans out there that are committed to improving their health. Every week, I talk to some of the best experts on the planet, share veteran stories, and you can come along for the journey as I improve my health one step at a time. Let's work together on accomplishing my goal of helping 100,000 veterans lose 2 million pounds. All right, the last 5 years for me have been absolutely wild. I had my second kid. I wrote 2 books, started a podcast, started a coaching company, did the Ironman. The list goes on. And that could not have happened had I not changed my mindset. You see, when I left the military, I went right back into my teaching career. So I was teaching high school science. I avoided dealing with everything that I saw and did in Afghanistan for good reason. It freaked me out. So I never really got over the fact that I had a lot of resentment and I was dealing with a victim mentality. Victim mentalities will end you. As we know, the suicide crisis is still ongoing and raging within the veteran community, way more than combat deaths. One thing that I think could really help, and having sat down with Mark England of Enlifted Coaching, that we can all benefit from, is getting rid of a victim mentality and changing our story. Our stories are what define us and they create our beliefs. And if we believe that an external force is responsible for our misery and our inability to cope, then that is going to keep us stuck. As he says, there's only 2 states in life, growth and death. According to Mark, we're going to see a bifurcation of people. There are conversations that are weaponized to further entrench and inflame people's victim mentalities and drive them nuts, then use them as a control mechanism. This is what I think we're experiencing right now as a population, and we need to overcome this by addressing what the story we're telling ourselves is, and then changing it so that we can change our minds. If not, it's going to continue to be weaponized against us, and we're never going to get out of this death loop. Mark's method is really straightforward. It only takes 4 steps and you can do it right now. First thing you're going to do is write down what's been bothering you. In my case, I wasn't able to save the children that were going to the school that I was responsible for helping construct. They were being killed by IEDs. They were also being sold into sex slavery, and I couldn't do enough. And for me, I should have done more. I should have gone the extra mile. And that played on my soul, and I kept it to myself. So the process is as such. You write down the thing that's bothering you. The next thing you do is you read it aloud. Next step is you read it at 30% speed, so real slow. And then lastly is you read it and you pause and take a breath between every sentence. What this does is it really centers it on who you are and your soul. You start bringing the central nervous system down while talking about the thing that traumatized and hurt you, and therefore you're able to get a better grip of it and start changing that story. In order to do this really well, reach out to somebody like Mark that can actually bring you down the path in a guided fashion, or reach out to your therapist and make sure to address these stories that are holding you back. So that's point number 1 that can really improve your health, change your mind, change your story. All right, here's the deal. We're a bunch of fatties. 44% of us are obese or overweight. That's compared to 39% of the regular civilian population. There's a lot of cofactors that go into that, but ultimately we can do better. I spoke with Cynthia Thurlow. She's a world-renowned expert on fasting. I started fasting about 5-6 years ago. It initially was just to see how it felt. And I'll be honest, I was like a hangry machine looking for some McDonald's McMuffies. I managed to resist, and I've subsequently gone on to do 3-day fasts and essentially incorporate fasting into my regular every day, every week routine. So I want to share with you some of the highlights of fasting and how you can start bringing it into your daily and weekly routines. Cynthia makes a very good point. She said the following: I think in our modern day lifestyles, when we're conditioned to believe that snacks and mini meals are the way to maintain our health, I'll be the first person to say that that couldn't be further from the truth. A lot of us in the military get used to this habit of grabbing food whenever we could because we were constantly working. We had a very high op tempo. So of course you're going to eat whenever you can, but that habit doesn't translate well once you're back home doing your regular suburban dad thing or just enjoying your life post-military. Fasting can be a really novel way to control your insulin levels, keep your weight low, and not have to think about everything you put in your mouth at all times. It's kind of like a hack. One thing you can start applying right now is a simple multiple step process that I've used in the past and that I'm going to share with you right now. The first thing that you need to do is eat more protein. You're likely not eating enough. And before you start fasting, it's really important to know how many calories you're taking in, but mainly how much protein are you taking in? If you're not eating about 1 gram per pound of desired body weight in protein, then you're not doing it right. So that's the first thing you're going to want to do. The second thing you're going to want to do is to attempt your first intermittent fast by just skipping breakfast. If you skip breakfast and you feel a little bit uneasy, that's okay. That's normal. Have some water, maybe have some black coffee, see how you feel. You'll notice you're not going to die. You'll be okay. And you actually might have more energy. Once you've done that a few times, then you can continue on and actually start doing more prolonged fast. Here's the thing though. During the day, if you're intermittent fasting, during that time window where you're actually going to eat, you need to eat as many calories as you would as if you weren't fasting. So I'll say that again. You need to eat as many calories as you would if you weren't fasting. That means you got to get them in a tighter window. And the reason why you want to do this is because it keeps insulin production to a very tight window, which allows your body to recover, rest, digest, and actually get to the fat stores that you don't want on your body a lot more efficiently. All right, so if you want to get a little bit more resolution on how to fast and what you should do next, then you're going to want to head to my website at hardtokill.org/hardenupbook, or just grab my book. It's right here in the description, and take your first steps in your fasting journey. 5 years ago, had you said, Dave, you're going to be talking to the 2008 CrossFit Games champ on your podcast, I would have said you're smoking crack. But I talked to Jason Khalipa about his stance on fitness and what it means to be a dad with kids, getting them ready for the world. And we had an amazing conversation about the standards that you should have as a man moving through life, and especially if you're a dad. So Jason highlighted a few key things that every dude should be able to do in order to be proficient at life. They are 100-yard sprint. That should be a no-brainer. Basically, can you sprint without the wheels falling off and you pulling a hammy? A body weight deadlift at least one time, but 4 reps is ideal, and be able to get off the ground unassisted. Those are kind of your benchmarks for the rest of your life. Not because you're in your 40s that, hey, it's easy peasy. No, you should be able to maintain that throughout the rest of your life. As Jason says, the dad bod should be a physically fit, strong male. That should be the standard. And I have to totally agree. With 88% of us being metabolically broken these days, having that standard of being fit and capable is going to set you apart from everybody else. We all know how to do it. We've been there. That's the luxury of us being veterans. We know what it's like to be fit, but now we just need to ensure that our paradigm fits our current reality. Jason sets up a proficiency pyramid. So if you're wondering, man, what should I really focus on first? Let the CrossFit Games champ sort you out. All right, so first on his proficiency pyramid is fitness. I think that's a no-brainer as well. Make sure your VO2 max is sufficiently high. So get that zone 2 cardio in. Make sure that you're strong. Like he said, make sure you can deadlift. And then just make sure that you're mobile and you can actually move up and down, get up the stairs, go down the stairs. Make sure you don't make all those old man sounds. That is fitness in a nutshell. Next is first aid. That one's different. I like that one. For him, being proficient and being harder to kill means, hey, what are the things that are going to be encountered most likely in a day-to-day? And first aid, I have to totally agree, is a skill that you must maintain in order to keep your edge. And for instance, if you're driving on a regular basis, the chances of there being a car incident, either with yourself or somebody else, are quite high. So make sure that you keep those skills honed. Then you move into combatives. I'm a huge fan of BJJ. Jason is actually a BJJ champ. He's a brown belt and he has loads of experience in striking. And that's something that as you move up the pyramid, you should definitely entertain as well. And then lastly, firearms training. Hey man, as veterans, right up our alley. Now, Jason isn't a veteran, but his firearm skills are unmatched in my opinion. And it's really cool that he applies that as part of his pyramid because he sees that as an important skill that every dude should have moving forward. Curious to know what you think. Drop that in the comments. Should firearms training be part of your proficiency pyramid? Curious to know. All right, so if you want to start applying some of the things that Jason is talking about here and getting the base of the pyramid dialed in, then you're going to want to head to my website at hardtokill.org/hardenupbook. Head on down to the bottom of the page. You're going to find a workout that's perfectly suited for anybody that wants to get started, or it's scaled for somebody that's a little bit more advanced. Or, hey, go pick up the book and you get a whole workout there just for you so that you can start making yourself harder to kill this year. So early on my podcasting career, I got the opportunity to talk to one of my heroes, Dr. Kelly Starrett, the supple leopard. On episode 14, we chatted about how to keep the warfighter fighting. This is an important topic for me because if I hadn't found his work, I think I'd still be stuck in the pain cave taking meds and not knowing how to actually be a thriving veteran post-service. There's a really troubling statistic around chronic pain. Almost 30% of American veterans are experiencing chronic pain, which is way higher than the national non-veteran average. If you can address the chronic pain issue, you would see a dramatic improvement in health overall. So in order to do that, you need to follow along because we're going to outline some of the things that Dr. Kelly Starrett has done in order to help folks get out of the pain cave, just like myself, and that you can start applying at home. Because imagine, if you're able to get yourself even 10% better, how much would that mean for you and your family? Kelly's thesis is essentially this: you can take care of your little aches and pains on your own and not have to rely on a specialist to get you better. What he said was really prescient, and I think we're moving towards a model that takes care of our warfighters and our veterans a lot more. He said, how many soldiers are you losing every year to preventable musculoskeletal injuries? And if we can bring that down by 10%, that would pay for itself in the reduction in recruiting and training costs. In terms of veterans, I think this is a novel approach that would have a huge benefit. Pay for veterans to get physically healthy, and you would see a dramatic reduction in the cost per veteran because they would just be healthier and able to move better. If you think that's a great idea, I want to hear that in the comments. Ultimately, Kelly provides a model on how to use self-myofascial release so that you can actually start improving your soft tissue mobility so that you can start doing the things you actually want to do. So in my case, I have a career-ending back injury and a knee injury. Once I started realizing that I was in control of these injuries and the injuries weren't in control of me, my whole paradigm shifted. I wasn't able to get out of bed for a long period of time. I wasn't able to enjoy having kids and bringing them to the park because I was in so much pain. Once I started doing daily self-myofascial release work, I really started to see a massive improvement. And from that improvement, I was able to open up the door to all the other things that I wanted to do. So in your case, if you want to start applying this, I've created a whole squat protocol. Why the squat? If you can identify some of the sticking points in your squat, you're going to be able to be a lot more mobile and a lot more pain-free. That protocol you can go find on my website. You can also find the entire protocol in the book as well. Simply put, film yourself doing a squat, and I'd love to see those squats. If you post them on Instagram, if you post them on social media, make sure to tag me, and I'll love to do a quick analysis of where you're getting stuck and the exercises that you need to do in order to get yourself better. Also, you can go pick up my book, The Nimble Warrior. Shameless plug, I know, that'll help you get that squat a little bit better and get yourself out of the pain cave. Want to hear a crazy statistic? Almost 40% of American veterans have a diagnosed mental health condition. That is insane. We can start doing better by applying some really simple strategies. I'm sure you've heard this before. You need to make time for mindfulness. You need to meditate. You need to get a grip of your mental health. Yeah, that's all fine and dandy, but what do you actually have to do to make that happen? Well, I sat down with Jon Macaskill. He's a retired Navy SEAL. He was actually meant to be on the Lone Survivor Patrol. He opted out of that mission, and as we all know, there was one lone survivor, Marcus Luttrell, from that mission, and Jon sat with that guilt for years. According to Jon, he was living the dash, meaning the dash on his tombstone from the day he was born to the day he dies. He couldn't experience joy, and he was numb to all the experiences due to the drugs that he was taking and due to the state that he was in. What he started to do that started seeing massive improvements in his mental health was being mindful and starting to do some meditative work. So from my experience, I was never really keen on doing meditative work because I saw it as kind of a waste of time. However, once I spoke with Jon, I started getting a whole new perspective on why mindfulness and meditation, by extension, is really important. Jon lays out a really simple protocol that's a 3-minute meditation that allows you to bring your prefrontal cortex, so that thinking part of your brain, back online from a really stressful day. For any one of you that are suffering from PTSD like I am, it's a really important time to actually get your fight or flight response under control. If you want to listen to a guided meditation with a Navy SEAL like Jon, you can head to the link that's here and start practicing yourself. It doesn't mean you have to sit in the lotus position. It doesn't mean that you have to start burning patchouli and smelling like a dirty hippie. It just means you need to take a moment out of your day to start getting a bit of distance from the stressors that can start spinning us out of control. Something that falls in line with meditation and meditative practices is breath work. A lot of us have probably done this during our time in, and that was called box breathing. That was something that we did during our shooting training so that we could get our prefrontal cortex back online. I didn't understand it that way when I was in the infantry, but now I get a much better appreciation for it. When you're under a stressful situation, if you do something like box breathing, where you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, and repeat like in a box, you can get a lot more clarity and get your dexterity back, get your thought process back. And this applies to non-stressful situations, just being at home when we're stressed out with the kids, when we have a bunch of bills to pay. It's a simple way that you can bring yourself back online. Couple that with Jon's meditation and you will be set. Make sure to do it on a daily and make sure to start getting your mindfulness on. You can go practice your meditation anytime, anywhere by downloading the file from my podcast, or just head to the link in the description and get your download right there. All right, question of the day. I want to know, which health habit has helped you the most since leaving the military? Drop it in the comments. All right, I hope you enjoyed those 5 habits that you can start employing right now to make you a healthier, harder to kill veteran. If you want to learn 14 more amazing habits from 14 amazing experts, then you can go grab my book, Harden the Fuck Up. Link is in the description. I'd love to hear the benefit that you're getting from this book and how you're using it as a guide to move forward and make you harder to kill in the future. So if you have any questions, make sure to follow me on socials, drop me a message on Instagram, drop me a message on X, and we can start the conversation right there. Tune in for more videos like this in the future. Make sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. I appreciate you, brother and sister. And don't forget to train hard, fight easy. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.